Hey guys, this is Holland with Wolverine.com, and I'm back with another episode of the Road Report. Before we dive into this week's show, I want to encourage you to sign up for the Wolverine.com today. Just $10 until next football season. Get premium insider information on Michigan recruiting, the team, the basketball team, basketball recruiting, and be part of a great message board community on the fort. All of that right now, just $10 until next football season. That's $10 until August 31st of 2023. All right, guys, I was back on the road, stayed on the East Coast, had a chance to see a number of underclassmen. In fact, I saw 15 underclassmen on the road this weekend. We won't go over all of them, but we will go over a few. And I did get a chance to see two Michigan commits in on 300 offensive lineman Evan Link and on 300 linebacker Semaj Bridgeman. Let's go ahead and start off with Link, who is at Washington, D.C. powerhouse Gonzaga. Link did not play in Friday's playoff game. Unfortunately, he did suffer a minor leg injury and was out of the contest. Gonzaga lost in that game and is now out of the playoffs. So their season is completely over. And unfortunately, that means I won't get a chance to see Link play in game again. But I did catch up with him before the game. He was in good spirits. He is completely solid to Michigan. There had been a few whispers that Penn State was trying to get back in this recruitment. And if you remember, this was arguably Michigan's most impressive recruiting win of the entire cycle. Michigan wasn't really in it with Link, or they were, but they were kind of on the outside looking in, with Penn State and Stanford considered the favorites throughout the summer. Link didn't make his official visit in June as scheduled, and so Michigan was considered basically an afterthought. And then Michigan offensive line coach Sharon Moore kept in contact, kept pursuing, got him on campus for an unofficial visit right before the barbecue at the Big House in July, and ended up sealing the deal and getting a commitment, which was a surprise. So I know there's always been some people wondering if Link would look around. And like I said, there was a little bit of buzz that Penn State was trying to get back in the mix there, but Link completely shut that down. He told me that he's happy with his commitment to Michigan. He enjoyed his official visit last month, and so it looks like he will stay in the class as a cornerstone of the offensive line. Right now, Michigan has two offensive line commits in Link and four-star interior offensive lineman Amir Herring. They are looking to add 2 to 3 more before the cycle ends. But Link, obviously a pivotal piece to the puzzle. I think he might be the best overall commit in Michigan's 2023 recruiting class. So again, keeping him on board is imperative, but Link told me that there isn't really anything to worry about right now. But Link is a true offensive tackle. When you look at the board right now, I think Michigan is trending in the right way for Nathan Afobe and Taliafi Ta'ala. Both of those guys could end up on the interior of the offensive line. There are some other tackle targets like Caleb Lemieux and Spencer Fano, but I think both of those guys will be a little more difficult to pull in. So Link is that true tackle in this class, and I really like his athleticism. I like his length. I like his bend. He looked great in pass pro when I saw him earlier this year. He was dominant when run blocking, which was terrific to see from a more athletic tackle build. I think he has the frame to add more weight and more strength and power when he gets to Michigan, which is really scary. Link is such an impressive prospect technically as well. He checks a lot of boxes. You can tell he's been well coached at Gonzaga, which consistently churns out D1 level talent. So I love Link's ceiling, but I also love his floor. I think he's one of the safer tackle takes in the country, and I still think he has upside I think he has top 100 prospect upside. I really, really love what Link brings to the table. On the flip side of the coin, Semaj Bridgeman out of Philly. So stopped in, checked in on Link, and then made the drive over to Philly to see Semaj Bridgeman in a Saturday afternoon game for the public school title game there in Philadelphia, and he had a terrific contest. This game was really important for me to see because Semaj Bridgeman is often thought as a traditional inside linebacker, more of a thumper, downhill kid that he fills gaps quickly and is physical against the run. He's 6'1", 235 pounds. So just on the hoof, he looks like that. He fits that mold. And even when I saw him in game back in August, he looked more like that 4-3 type of Mike linebacker, like that old school middle linebacker that'll just knock your teeth out. He has that kind of Philly swagger attitude to him. So I think Bridgeman showed more that he can be more than that, though. And in Michigan's scheme, you kind of have to be, right? Michigan relies on its linebackers to get sideline to sideline. They require them to play well in space, to be comfortable in pass coverage. And I think those were some knocks on Bridgeman. How athletic is this guy? How fast is this guy? How explosive is this guy? How twitchy is this guy? And I think when I saw him in August, I still had some of those question marks because he was just a guy that would come downhill and lay the wood. And that's great and all. But when it comes to Michigan's scheme, when it comes to playing for Jesse Minter, I think you have to be an athletic guy that can cover a lot of ground. And again, in this game in particular, he didn't do much downhill thumping. He was actually covering a lot of ground. I put out some game clips that you can go watch on our YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe. It's completely free. You can go watch those game clips and you can see him line up at the mic spot and help make a lot of tackles towards the numbers, towards the sideline. So he's getting out there. You can see him dropping back into coverage, whether it's from the mic spot or whether he's lined up as an outside linebacker covering the slot. I thought he did a really nice job in pass coverage over the weekend, and he still, flashed some of that ability that makes him that physical inside linebacker that we all like. I think Bridgeman is a guy that's going to need to cut a little bit of weight when he gets to campus. He's already huge, man. When you look at his upper half, he is so big. He is legit 235. He might be even 240 pounds right now. So I think he needs to cut a little bit of weight, and then I think he needs to rebuild that up the right way. I keep saying how big Semaj is and how big Semaj is, and I went back and just kind of looked at some of the photos I took of him just to kind of remind myself exactly what his frame looked like and where he could add weight. And he can add some weight in his lower half. I do think that there's room to add weight there, but I think you strip some of his upper half weight, you rebuild it the right way, and under Michigan strength and conditioning coach Ben Herbert, players have gotten more explosive. Players have gotten faster. They have been able to rebuild weight the right way. And nutritionist Abigail O'Connor does a terrific job as well. So I think those two, O'Connor and Herbert, will be key in Semaj's development. I think if he is able to add more speed, if he is able to be a more explosive athlete, and he is able to keep being that physical thumper that he is at heart, then I think Bridgeman will be back to where he was once considered. Remember, Bridgeman was a very highly touted prospect early on. As an underclassman, he notched offers from Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, like all these SEC programs, and then his stock kind of just plummeted. By the time he committed to Michigan, it was basically a Michigan-Rutgers race. So I think what Semaj was expected to be can still be reached at Michigan, which does a terrific job at developing players. So I'm really excited to see what he turns into once he arrives in Ann Arbor and how his body is shaped and all of that. But he had a really strong game, finished with 5 tackles, half a sack, a fumble recovery. He even rushed for a touchdown, so he did flash again that athleticism and that versatility. He not only played the mic spot, but he did play as an outside linebacker. He did line up at running back. He obviously came off the edge. Like I mentioned, he came away with half a sack. So I thought Bridgeman had a really impressive performance, especially when compared to his August in-game evaluation, which is why I love to see players twice whenever I can. I think Bridgeman has developed well at Imhotep, which was a positive transfer for him. Imhotep is one of the premier powerhouse programs in Philly. And so I think being around other D1 guys, being around that coaching staff there has also helped with his growth and development. So like I said, guys, I saw 15 underclassmen this weekend, which blows my mind. 15 underclassmen with Michigan offers, which is pretty crazy. I think that's the most I've ever seen in like a 48-hour span. I won't go over every underclassmen, but I'm going to pick out 3 that really, really caught my attention this weekend. So the first guy I want to highlight is actually a teammate of Semaj Bridgeman, and that is 2025 edge Zahir Mathis. He is listed at 6'5", 235 pounds. He is tall. He's long. He checks a lot of boxes coming off the edge. He had a couple of sacks on Saturday afternoon. He's really athletic, and he's like a skinny 235. He has a chance to add a lot of weight to his frame. I think he's going to be a monster in 2 years. He's already listed as a top 100 prospect by On3, but I think that he has the potential to be a 5-star in 2025. He does like Michigan early on. He was excited about that offer. He hopes to visit soon, and obviously the Wolverines have a connection through Bridgeman, who is already helping the Wolverines recruit him. Another kid that stood out to me this weekend was 2025 cornerback Blake Woodby at Baltimore St. Francis. So St. Francis is obviously a Michigan-friendly school, having produced guys like Blake Corum and Nikai Hill-Green, Iyabi Oki, Derek Moore. So Michigan has plenty of ties to St. Francis, and I think Blake Woodby is one of the next studs coming out of that powerhouse in Baltimore. Woodby was extremely impressive at cornerback. He was athletic. He made plays on the ball. He showed great technique. He lined up at wide receiver, made a couple of plays there. So I wouldn't even consider him just a corner. I think he is a really explosive athlete, and he's so young as a 2025. I'm excited to see what he becomes in a couple of years. Michigan just offered him last month. He's starting to gain a lot of traction, has some other big offers early on. The Wolverines will push to get him on campus here in the near future. Another guy that really caught my attention out of St. Francis was linebacker Carlton Smith. Like I just mentioned, you need to be a guy that is comfortable in space, that can get sideline to sideline, that can display speed on the field at the linebacker position, and Carlton Smith does that. While he's a 2025 kid, I mean, he's the starting middle linebacker for a St. Francis team that is loaded with D1 talent, that plays against the best of the best competition across the country. So for him to be such an impact player as a sophomore speaks volumes of his potential and his ability. Smith is listed at 6'1", 190 pounds, but like I said, he's just a sophomore. He's going to add 30 pounds with ease by the time he's a senior. And he does do that. He covers a lot of ground. He is comfortable in space. I think he's the perfect fit for what Michigan wants at the linebacker spot, and his ceiling is so high. So both Smith and Woodby are 2025 prospects to watch at St. Francis, which again is a very Michigan-friendly school. All right, guys, that does it for the Road Report this week. Make sure to tune in next week and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is completely free. Make sure to subscribe to the Wolverine.com as well. Just $10 until next football season.